The U.S. Postal Service.
Oof.
And yes, and the elections, right? So the U.S. Postal Service, people have been reporting for months now that they haven't been getting their mail, or their mail has been slow. Even the fundraiser that we had for Ark Republic, the chef Cassandra had to remail, I want to say 10 pound cakes because they somehow got lost in the mail. I think somebody ate them, right? So this is a reflection of, while we were talking about defunding the police, they're defunding or not funding the U.S. Postal Service, which causes concern with these coming elections because so many people are going to be relying on mail-in ballots.
Yeah, I think that there's a whole lot of drama going on everywhere, but I think that the president is really pinpointing areas where he's got a lot of a large amount of people and where he stands to lose. So I think he's trying to jack up the Postal Service everywhere, but particularly in some places like Nevada, because Nevada has a Democratic governor, and there's a lot of people there. But it's not just Nevada, but we're going to use it as an example. But there's a lot of people there. But he filed a lawsuit against them, and what I think he's doing is he's filing a lawsuit against them. He's doing a lot of stuff around the postal, the mail-in ballots, and trying to pass legislation and moratoriums to stop this and that. But in there particularly, he's trying to stop the mail-in ballots because he says that there's a lot of voter fraud. Now, voter fraud, is kind of like, in my view, a dog whistle. It's always been used, but as I'm going to say, I haven't heard a lot of it until the last 10 years or so, since Al Gore. I think when we started to really see races being stolen, Al Gore and what happened in Florida with Bush, and
right, the 2000 elections that you talked about.
Around that time, we started to see our voters' rights be rolled back in sneaky ways. That's really suppression, right? IDs, and you're taking us off the voter list because we didn't vote in 10 years, and all kinds of stuff that they're doing. Now that they let men vote who were in jail, now they're saying, well, if you came out of jail, and you have some people that get out of jail, and you have still, I guess, fees or something because you're still on parole, they're saying you got to pay the fees. Like, I thought you weren't supposed to pay to vote, and they're trying to sneak it around in other ways. So he's doing all these tactics, and the most egregious one recently was the one in Nevada where he's suing Nevada to stop them from doing these mail-in ballots because it's a huge population there. And that, why he's focusing on one state, if you don't win Nevada, you're not going to win the presidency. Maybe it's a multitude of many big states, but I think that's to slow down the process and tie things up in the courts and all of that. But the Nevada governor's not having it. But I do think it's a huge distraction. I think it's very scary. These are the days of I don't even know what to call it, McCarthyism. I don't know what you want to call these days. But I fear that what he's doing in Nevada, he's going to try to roll out in different ways in other states, and places where you have large, voter turnout, particularly now that we have COVID. You don't want to put your life on the line to vote and be on the line and have to catch COVID to vote. Because we still have, the COVID issue now in the United States. I don't know how it is in, Italy and other places around the world. There's still cases, but we're having still this groundswell and hot spots of COVID. So he's doing that there, trying to pass this narrative on that, people are trying to commit fraud to vote. First of all, there's been research that shows that there's such a tiny number of voter fraud, it's not even worth discussing. It's like 0.00000.001%. The number's not even a number. It doesn't even exist in the world. It's so low. That's been researched. It's also research that people don't even like to vote. Most people find it a chore to vote. So nobody's going to try to vote twice, particularly mail-in ballots. You got to fill out. You ever see a ballot? You got to fill out the ballot, the outside of the ballot, and sign who's delivering this. So even the ballot is daunting. So I don't want to fill out two of them shits. People ain't filling out two ballots. They're not going to the polls twice. People don't want to vote once. So just with the culture of voting, that they made it so hard to do, not just now, it's just becoming harder, that people don't want to vote, particularly marginalized and underserved people. So, and then he talks about, people who are immigrants. First of all, a lot of immigrants scared to vote under his administration because they might have ICE there. So like all of those things are lies and dog whistles, because I think that he's afraid that he's going to lose the election. Be very afraid. So yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
No, I also think that this is one of his tactics along the way to create these, what I will call crumbs of distraction of, these lawsuits really that are meaningless, that kind of keep this red tape going and this back and forth going, to also show as if maybe perhaps he still has some level of power. Another thing I was thinking about, like why Nevada also has a large elderly population too. That's going to rely, on.
They like to gamble.
Yes.
Ka-ching, ka-ching.
Right. So I'm like thinking, I said, well, is he targeting populations where there's a high senior citizen population that will definitely be doing mail-in ballots? So I'm kind of thinking of all these ways. But another thing in terms of the mail and U.S. Postal Service, there's a new postmaster, Louis DeJoy, who is a mega donor of Trump. And so people fear that by him being in position, that he actually will implement things or stymie the process of mail even further for this, this voter repression that you're talking about.
Right. And then now I would love to know how that happened. How did you get to be the new Postmaster General over the whole Postal Service, the Post Office, the U.S. Post Office?
With no experience in the post office.
Just let that sit right there. Let that sit right there. So these are all tactics, like different, like juggling balls in the air. He's got all these balls in the air. And I think I heard some whisperings about a week ago. So he was trying to say that he wanted to move the election day because of coronavirus. You can't make that decision. That's against you don't even have the power to do that. He was talking about that, I think, a week or so ago. Like, he's just throwing clamp against the wall and trying to make it work. I don't believe in a deity, so I can't say, well, God got this, so I can't say, I know to say that, but I would be being fake. I don't really believe in that. But I do believe in, if it's meant to be, it will be, for whatever reasons. We're doing everything we can down here on the ground not to let that happen, because even LeBron James, did you hear about LeBron James? LeBron James made the decision, I think it's in Florida, I forgot where it is, or just around the country, I have to look it up. LeBron James, when he found out that the president made it so that, I think it's in Florida, where, where ex-cons who got let out of prison who now can vote in that state. Now the catch is, but you owe fees and you owe, fines and whatever else. LeBron James is paying all the fines to make sure you can vote. So people are doing what they can do to get this going. So if we have the counter to his idiocy, is that a word? Or his shenanigans, and he still wins, it was meant to be, meaning it was meant for him to steal it, or however he got it, it was meant to be. And so if that does happen, I don't want to see that happen, because I'm poor, I'm a woman, and I'm Black. And I'm tall. That is a disability for a woman.
Don't tell a short person that.
Shut up. But I, again, would caution people, they're not gonna listen to my, around the way girl ass, but I would caution people to start to build more of you and get out that seat. You cause it.
Right. And another thing I want to add to this postal office, it's connected in a way, is the census. How they changed, first they moved the census. The census was supposed to end in July, I want to say.
Right, because I did mine, they said the last day, and I'm like, are they still doing the census? Because I was all scared. I did mine electronically.
Yeah, was it April? Okay, excuse me.
No, you're right. I know it was around April, because it was not June.
April, okay. And so then they extended it to October 31st, and now they
to do my census. I could have been waiting.
But now they moved it to September 30th. Right. So also there is this this strategy of derailing American progress for generations too, as well, because we, the census, how you report it, whomever reports, it affects money for the next 10 years. Correct. So And I have to, Roland Martin gave a really great, he covered it, and he had some folk on talking about how a lot of advertisement dollars did not go to Black media to encourage people.
Oh, yeah, I saw that he went in. Mm-hmm.
Oh, he went in. He went in, right? Which is actually, to me, an issue across the board. It's not just the census, but this is across the board, political parties and so on and so forth. So I also wanted to connect that and mention that if you have not filled out the census, it is imperative that you fill out the census. If only for the very reason, if you, a lot of people who were like searching for their ancestry found a lot of that information, even my family members, in the census. So be visible, right? Totally be visible and be present.
No, so fill it out, and I did it electronically. You can do it electronically. It does matter. And like I said, like I said before, the importance of people in these places and spaces who look like you being there is because they can speak to their community. Because like I said before, I'm embarrassed and ashamed to say my first time ever filling out a census was in 2020. I'm 56. Because I too was raised by old Southern parents. My mother was particularly the one that raised the kids. My father worked. And she was always saying, don't be filling out that damn census because, you know, they're doing it to hurt people. Because at the time that they did it, that was being used to weaponized against Black folks to find them, arrest them, find ways to tax them and take their homes and all these other things that the census was doing in its early phases of it being in existence. But I think it has since morphed into something related to the dollar. But I still didn't leave the culture. It took a long time. But what made me go and jump ship on the culture and decide to fill out the census was Stacey Abrams. You know, she looks like me. And it wasn't just because she's Black, because I don't follow everybody Black, but I've been following her for a long time and she's real solid and real strong and I really have a trust for her. So I said, okay, girl, let me push this button, boob. I was shaking. So I did it. So hopefully these Black faces can get other Black faces and people of color, Indigenous people to fill out the census because it's very imperative.
And here's a message to those who are the census gatherers, information gatherers in Newark, New Jersey. Don't call anybody's home cussing them out, because that's what they did to me. I got so
what?
In 2010, I mean, it was like people were coming to the door, you know what I'm saying, wanting blows up in there. Yeah. So anyway, understand that people are in a lot of.
I was afraid you would outside my window.
Yes, they were two elderly women, so I didn't want to do that. So
you know I feel about that. Respect, or put some respect on it, or you're gonna get treated like you're 12. Yeah, I will with elderly people real quick, because you're elderly, and I'm from, you know, I have a Southern background. Because you're elderly, I'm gonna automatically extend respect to you. I don't expect you to extend respect to me because you're my elder. The minute you break it, it's on and pop it.
Yeah.
and I don't go back the other direction. I'm gonna tear that ass up. Not physically, I would never hurt an old person, but you know, I'll hurt your feelings.
Well, yeah. So fill out that census, and also put pressure on getting funding to the U.S. Post Office as well, because there was a report a couple of months ago saying that if they did not get the $6 billion they need, then either the post office is going to be privatized, it's going to go belly up, something's going to happen. ARC Republicans, you want to remain connected to the weekly check-ins with Lisa Durden and a plethora of other interviews that we have from experts, community members, activists, politicians, you name it. You can catch it if you subscribe to ARC Republic's YouTube, and as well, go to our website, arcrepublic.com. Membership is gangsta, and we tell stories in order to change the conversation.